Testing 1, 2, 3. Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Oh, honey, I had to change my glasses. Wrong glasses. I don't like these glasses are just for watching TV and reading. And these are for YouTube. Still prescription because I'm blind. All right, let me bring the judge up, honey, because he is here early and on time. Hi.
Yo,
How are you?
looking good. Must got your hair done.
Well, I did, yeah. Well, just the two cornrows, something simple because I'm starting back working out, and then I'm about to after this next week I'm gonna get hobo braids, more braids because it's getting warmer, and when it gets warm, like summertime, my roots turn to Kizzy in a cotton field nappy. So I don't wanna I don't wanna have to go and get a silk press every 5 days because I look like I'm in a field picking cotton type of hair. I'm just gonna put the braids back in.
I was just reading a thing, a report today.
Mhm.
You talking about your glasses? I wear them too. They were talking about myopia. They were saying 1 in 3 people in the world is myopic now, and by another 10, 15 years, it might be as much as 50% of the planet is myopic. And one of the things they were talking about is children not getting outdoors as much and not going into bright sunlight, and their eyes aren't developing the way they're supposed to. And plus, the worst eyes tend to be possessed by the best students because they read a lot. And now they're trying to say that reading and close up work with a cell phone where you doing that makes your eyes not develop. It says they're born a bit too short when you're born, and then they lengthen, but for some people they lengthen too doggone much, which keeps it out of focus. So now they got the latest little thing. If you want to be a good student and make it in life, you have to sacrifice your eyesight.
Well,
It's like, okay, yeah.
but I think it's speeding up the process because of the cell phone. You constantly on it because of social media, especially young people. So it's like, yeah, it's added on too. Now the book smart people, their eyes are gonna go back because they like to read. But
Yeah, and
people
don't get outside.
right. And then but a lot of people stop reading as much, right? Because everyone wants soundbite and they're on social media with the quick headline trending topics.
Well, that's the other funny part about it. They said ordinarily this would not be selected for unless it bestowed a certain advantage. So what they were postulating was it was an access advantage because if you're a good student, you probably will make more money in life. And if you have bad eyes, you tend to be the best quality nookie or D on the other side. So it's got a functional connection with being a biological success. The better student you are, male or female, the better your choices as to who to mate with, so your eyes will tend to be worse and pass it on. So, or not pass it on, but there's a selection value to it. I laughed when I read it.
I'm pretty sure what you read had did not say nothing about no nookie.
Yes, it did. It says it promotes sexual selection because the better students tend to be more successful in life. And that means whatever you are, you have more access. I found that very amusing. I said, oh, revenge of the nerds.
Oh my god. It probably was a nerd person that
Go
wrote
to some
it.
doctors that wrote. I'll send you the article if
Send
I
me
think
the article,
about
but
it.
you know what's funny though? Because a lot of women sleep on nerds. First of all, I always say this: the book smart, the nerdy guys are the ones that know a woman's body because they read on where is the clitoris located. Like they read up on the woman's body anatomy. They're willing to learn it, right? Because they're already studious. So I done had me a couple of nerds and very good lovers
And by the way, you know, they do tend to take you ladies out for the wine, dine, and nice dinner
Yes.
the first date. And, you know, we were looking at somebody that said, never take a woman out on to a good restaurant on the first date. I guess take her to
Well, let
Mickey
me
D's or something.
that's my friend, and
Uh,
you met him. You actually spoke to him on the phone as well. But yeah, that I thought that was real. I thought that was very interesting. That's why I tagged you in on it. I wanted you to respond in that.
I did.
Yeah. And but here's the thing too about the quote unquote nerds. Yes, they will wine and dine you, treat you like a queen, honey, but they are players. They are very flirtatious. So
Hmm.
so yeah,
The
don't
gift of gab.
right. So don't think, oh, he's a nerd, he ain't getting no woman. No, that a lot it's in reverse. It's in reverse. But
Yeah.
all right, so let's get into it, honey, because it's not funny. I swear to God, it's not funny. But you called me, first of all, okay, Saturday at the White House press conference, I seen like a little bit of the red carpet and I was like, okay, this looks boring. So I didn't pay no mind and I went on about my night. I think it was an hour later, you called me and was like, did you see? Did you they tried to kill him again? And I'm like, what? And so apparently it was a failed, I guess, assassination attempt on Trump life at the White House Correspondents gala.
Yes.
So the DC gala shooting suspect charged with attempting to assassinate Trump. So yeah, I want to play that pieces of the press conference that they had today.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for being here. On Saturday night, as you all know, an act of violence occurred at a gathering that symbolizes something fundamental to our system of government: the ability of a free press and public officials to come together in celebration and not fear. The act was stopped because of the courage and, that horrible act was stopped because of the courage and professionalism of law enforcement. The officers who responded without hesitation and did their jobs as they were trained to do. Secret Service agents promptly tackled and detained the suspect, Cole Thomas Allen. The president and all the protectees and participants at the dinner were safe. One brave officer was injured and is receiving care and has been released from the hospital. I want to make this clear. This man was a floor above the ballroom with hundreds of federal agents between him and the President of the United States. The Department of Justice approaches incidents like this with urgency and clarity of purpose. Violence has no place in civic life. It cannot and will not be used to disrupt democratic institutions or intimidate those who serve them, and it certainly cannot continue to be used against the President of the United States. We are investigating this matter fully. We will apply the law fairly, and we will ensure that accountability is swift and certain. But we also should recognize what did not happen. Law enforcement did not fail. They did exactly what they are trained to do. This was not an accident. It was the result, as we know now, of preparation. But the men and women who protected us that night were trained, professional, and had an enduring commitment to the rule of law. Today, the Department of Justice filed 3 federal charges in United States District Court against Cole Thomas Allen. The first count is attempted assassination of the President of the United States. This count is punishable by up to life in prison. The second count is interstate transportation of a firearm to commit a felony. This is punishable by up to 10 years in prison. And the third count is discharge of a firearm during a crime of violence, which is punishable by a mandatory minimum term of imprisonment of 10 years, a maximum of life, and the 10 years is consecutive to any other sentence imposed. Just to go through very quickly the timeline, which many of you in this room already know. The defendant, Allen, made a hotel reservation at the Washington Hilton for April 24th through April 26th. On April 21st of this year, he traveled by train from Los Angeles to Chicago and then from Chicago to Washington, D.C. On April 24th, he arrived in Washington, D.C. at approximately 1 o'clock in the afternoon and checked into the Washington Hilton. Approximately at 8:40 on the night of April 25th, Allen approached a security checkpoint on the terrace level of the hotel, which is again a floor above where the dinner was taking place. He ran through the magnetometer holding a long gun. As he did so, U.S. Secret Service personnel assigned to the checkpoint heard a loud gunshot. One Secret Service officer was shot in the chest, but was wearing a ballistic vest that worked. This heroic officer who was hit fired 5 times at Allen, who was not shot but fell to the ground and was promptly arrested. I want to thank everybody who worked tirelessly on Saturday, Sunday, and continuing today. This includes members of the FBI, and Director Patel is going to address that in a minute. It includes members of the Metropolitan Police Department who were immediately on the scene, the chief, the mayor, to make sure that law enforcement was available to do their jobs and had all the tools they needed to do so. And lastly, the United States Attorney's Office here in D.C., our U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro and her team. A prosecutor stayed up all night long, didn't sleep all day yesterday, making sure that we got what we needed from all over the country. It included search warrants in California, search warrants here in D.C., multiple interviews that have been conducted already of witnesses and of family members of the charged individual, and continue to work hard today. This investigation is ongoing. It's not complete. A lot of the information that the media is hearing through leaks or sources, some of it is true, some of it is not true, and at the right time you will hear information from us as appropriate. I'd like to ask our U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro to say a few words and then follow.
Wasn't she one of those TV judges
Yeah.
and went on Fox?
Yeah.
Yeah, they like her. I guess she went that way. Anyhow, good for her. But now, I met her. We did some commercials in Times Square. It was 15 degrees Fahrenheit on the day. It was interesting.
Did you want to hear what she had to say, or do we have to?
No, we don't have to.
Okay.
It's obvious. He took the train there, so it wasn't hard to get the firearm to where he was going. Interestingly enough, it wasn't illegal to transport it on the train, nor would it have been on an aircraft, except going into DC landing with it. If nobody had notified DC from LAX, and traveling from LAX with a firearm is not undone. I've done it myself when I'd move back and forth or something. You just have to declare it, and they open it up, inspect it, and put a card in there saying it had been inspected, and then they lock the case, and then you go from there. It's 12 gauge shotgun. It wasn't any semi-auto rifle, my God, that would mow down all of the crowds, but 12 gauge shotgun is a lot more effective up close and personal. Let's see. I wonder what the very high-powered pistol was supposed to be. I didn't get any description off of that. And let's see, isn't his sister in the press corps or something like that? And didn't he get a year or so ago an award as teacher for the month for the LA County Unified School District?
Yes. So he has a master's degree in education, but and then they're saying he's linked to some leftist group. However, here's the question though that I want to ask. How was he able to get that far in there?
Well, he lived in the hotel, so he didn't have to come in through the front entrance. He just came down from the upper stage floors of the hotel, I imagine. And he
That's right,
would have
because it's at the,
hotel where he was staying. So he didn't have to come see the security perimeter was a quarter of a mile away from the front of the hotel. And they had dogs checking people, wands, the metal detector wands, and all that other stuff. But
Mhm,
he didn't have to go through that because he was already in the hotel. So where he came down was inside the first security perimeter,
mhm.
and it made it easier. I guess he had to run through because it was going to set off the metal detector, but I'm surprised he didn't wait until people were coming out and try to do some damage to the
Attendees?
attendees. But yeah, I guess they were all on the same side. Something about this doesn't strike me right. It looks also like some other people could be prosecuted because it is against the law to advocate for the assassination of the president. And if you take the inartful usage of language that quite a few members of this press corps um, are guilty of when they were describing their urges and their desire to do something to Trump or protest or, you know, destroy Trump or however they wanted to put it at this press conference, that kind of irresponsible behavior gets out of hand. It's First Amendment protected, but
But let me
it
ask you this
crosses
question.
the line at some point, and there might be consequences coming to people because of that.
You don't think it was staged?
I don't. Oh no, that wasn't staged. This guy got shot in the chest with a shotgun blast,
Okay.
and it hurts even if you've got the right kind of Kevlar or Adamant on to protect you.
Mhm, mhm.
So it's kind of like somebody hits you in the chest with a sledgehammer, but
Well, Trump
it's not anything you can stage or fake.
okay.
See, just people keep thinking of movies, but that's not how it works in real life. It doesn't work like in movies. Oh, they got me, you know, and
Mhm,
you can fake that because most people, why didn't he shoot him in the arm or the leg? Well, quite simply, most people, cops included, can't shoot nearly well enough to be able to reliably shoot anybody anywhere. If they get center mass, they're lucky.
okay.
So,
Well, Trump posted this video. This is from Truth Social. He posted the moment, that the guy was running through, and it's like, and it okay, it wasn't staged. I will agree to that, but I think that all of the security people here were lacking because he just came running through. I don't care if somebody was walking. No one should be allowed to come through, especially after the president is in the on in a facility.
what were they going to do? Shoot him? That's the
Yeah,
only option
or
they had
stop
was
them.
to shoot him. Well, see, and somebody got in the way and he got shot, but he fired several shots at the suspect because
And they're all standing around here, and then next thing you know, he comes running around the corner, and then they're still standing, and then they eventually be like, "Oh, he had a gun."
see, people are trying to be cool. Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, okay. Wow, what was that? You see, people who are in combat, as soon as they hear a loud noise, they hit the ground. Somebody that hasn't is trying to be cool. Yeah, I'm cool, you know, like somebody may be watching. And then the other thing is kids don't get in fights anymore. So by the time you're 19, 20 years old, used to be you'd had 8, 9, 10, 15, 20 fist fights growing up. So, you know, the adrenaline flow was something you were used to. These kids, even if they're in Secret Service, a lot of times they've never had a physical confrontation with anybody. and it's new to them and they don't know what to do and they haven't been shot at and they're not veterans of anything.
Right.
So that's why a lot of the agencies recruit heavily from those guys who were trigger pullers and got triggers pulled on them. And the other thing is like the SOCOM community, Special Operations Command, SEALs, they become provisional until they've been into so many missions or live firefights and been observed by the senior personnel to handle the fire well, and they get it out of their system. So they get cool, calm, collected, and they know what to look for, and it's not something that's new. Wow, what was that? I was looking, oh, shit. It's going down, and they're kind of surprised at it. So they need to get a little bit more experience. Like when you look at Hoover, when he hired Melvin Purvis and Elliot Ness and some people like that, Purvis was a detective who had been in a lot of gunfights, and he's supposed to have killed 25, 30 some people before Hoover recruited him to be a special agent. Same with Elliot Ness. So these guys had been in shootouts before. That's like Popeye Doyle, famous detective in New York. He supposedly had shot 25 or 30 people in the line of duty, which would get him put in an asylum these days, New York, just think about it. But these kind of people who were seasoned pros, they don't have many of them these days, unless maybe they've been in the military. And then there's this thing where everybody jumps on everybody, put your hand out to grab somebody. He brutalized him. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. He's holding on to my arm. This kind of thing.
Well, the are we calling him the DC shooter 2.0? So Cole Alan Cole, he is 31. He's from Torrance, California, a coastal city in the South Bay region near Los Angeles along Santa Monica
Torrance.
Bay. A
I know
LinkedIn
Torrance well.
a LinkedIn profile under his name describes him as a mechanical engineer and a computer scientist by degree, independent game developer by experience, and teacher by birth. According to the profile, he earned a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the California Institute of Technology in 2017
That deep.
and a master's degree in computer science from California State University. Dominguez Hills in 2025, Caltech confirmed that an individual with the name graduated in 2017.
Going to getting a degree from Caltech is like getting one from MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. That's where the rocket scientists go to. That's impressive. So he's no dummy. Hold on a second.
Oh, I was muted.
I was telling somebody that's very furry to get out off of something.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we were just talking about nerds, but he's the cuckoo for one flew over the cuckoo nest nerds. Because sometimes some nerds, they're out there too much. They're the different type of overachievers. Now he
Or
wrote.
they want to claim to fame because they feel set upon. Did you ever see the series Revenge of the Nerds?
Yes, you always how about we do a review on that movie?
That's what you're looking at now. That movie has come to become representative of a reality today. What you're looking at in politics on the Democratic side is revenge of the nerds, all of the little pussy boys that got slapped around, run home from school. They control the communications industry, news industry, and entertainment industries, and they are getting their little revenge. That's all of the triggered folk you see out there in a rage, out there on the streets about whatever it is, and they
Oh,
do their crazy stuff and they don't understand when they get a beat down.
it says Cole Allen's possible links to protest group The Wide Awakes and other leftist groups online. So not only is he's a nerd, right, or overachiever,
Fruitcakes and little sissies unite.
right? It's he's part of the leftist cult,
Yeah, I know the wannabes, the revenge of the nerd boys.
right? Well, it was something that I was about to say. Oh, he wrote a manifesto to family members in which he referred to himself as a friendly federal assassin and outlined plans to target senior Trump administration officials attending the event. And this is said by the acting Attorney General Tom Blanche. So his intended targets was likely Trump and, of course, people in his administration.
Well, there's a whole bunch of people in there that were sitting around that were in the administration. Did you ever see that thing about Designated Survivor, the series they
Oh,
had?
the show, yeah.
That was something they weren't really taking care of. They had too many people that were in the line of succession at that thing. Secretary of State, Attorney General, et cetera, Secretary of Defense. You shouldn't really have all of those people in one room at the same time.
For the Correspondents' dinner?
Yeah, because forget the fact that the correspondents are there. Remember, the borders have been wide open for 4 years, and you could bring in RPGs. You could have 5 or 6 people standing 5 or 6 blocks away with RPGs or with 81 millimeter mortars, which could easily lob some devastating hardware onto the site.
Mhm.
And or you could have over the proceeding weeks, since it's always at that venue, you could have planted military grade explosives and blown a whole lot of people up.
Mm, interesting. Well, I wanna play this clip because Trump did do a press conference that same night,
And by
after.
the way, did you see him? He didn't panic when they got him off stage. He was cool. You know,
Yeah,
he
it's a
he's
detail
cool
that
under fire. This dude's he got it. You can't talk about a man that didn't panic like so many of them would, like some of the people in the audience. Oh my God, you know.
it's a clip of Secret Service telling JD Vance to go, and it looked like they pulled JD Vance off the stage before the president, and
Yeah, they
it
got courage. I like this. Got balls.
yeah, well, this is him at the, what was this is what, the press room right after the
Afterwards,
incident. The what?
afterwards, yeah.
Yeah, in the press room, and this is what, he said.
Trump, there's a report in the New York Post that this assailant assembled his weapon somewhere on site at the hotel. What do you think about that? And I ask respectfully, why do you think this keeps happening to you?
Well, you know, I've studied assassinations, and I must tell you, the most impactful people, the people that do the most, you take a look at the people, Abraham Lincoln, I mean, you go through the people that have gone through this where they got them, but the people that do the most, the people that make the biggest impact, they're the ones that they go after. They don't go after the ones that don't do much because they like it that way. And when you look at the people that have either, whether it was an attempt or a successful attempt, they're very impactful people. Just take a look at the names there, the big names. And I hate to say I'm honored by that, but I've done a lot. We've done a lot. We've taken this country, and we were a laughing stock for years, and now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We've changed this country, and there are a lot of people that are not happy about that. So I think that's the answer, Peter.
And after Butler, you're
By the way, stop. Assemble the weapon. What he means is it's probably a Mossberg 500 or a Remington 870, which means you take the barrel off, which shortens it up a bit. You may have one with just a pistol grip stock on it, which makes it even more compact. And when you assemble the weapon on site, all you do is take the barrel, slide it in, take the fastening device, which varies between the two makes, and screw it down, rack it back, load it, you're ready to go.
Mhm.
So that's what they probably meant by that. So this is ignorant press trying to blow something up where they don't even get what they're talking about. And the fool probably hasn't even looked at a video, of which there are a bunch online, explaining how to do it. So his question just speaks, it was assembled on site.
Well, Trump did
Really?
say, speaking of the security aspect, Trump did say this is why we need the ballroom, because it's like, yeah, you could hold the correspondence on a White House property at the ballroom
And
and
I
not at
thought
a
the
hotel.
judge that blocked it was an idiot. But anyway, it was noted in the decision and by the appellate court that sent it back to the district court judge in D.C., saying it does not assess the security purposes. And he said this is ridiculous. There's no security problem. Like he knows this, but he doesn't. And then la di da, it happens. So.
So do you think
Uh,
an incident like this will actually can who can overrule that federal judge who
Well, the point is the appellate court said you have to consider the security aspects, either to himself, his wife, his cabinet, or to the White House personnel in general, or to the operations that are carried on pursuant to him being chief of state as well as head of state. He has to put on the party functions for the United States. So these are considerations.
Mhm.
And the judge didn't have any objection to the below ground excavation for security, but he had a big problem with what was happening above ground. But interestingly enough, the DC Monuments Committee, the day he ruled again negatively, they passed on approving it. So it's going to go through. He'll get that
I
bill.
think you'll get it done as well. Well, let me just one last thing here on this topic. Trump posted on Truth Social, what happened last night is exactly the reason that our great military, Secret Service, law enforcement, and for great reasons, every president for the last 150 years have been demanding that a large, safe, and secure ballroom be built on the grounds of the White House. This event would never have happened if the military type secret ballroom currently under construction at the White House. It cannot be built fast enough. While beautiful, it has every highest level of security feature. There is plus. There are no rooms sitting on the top for unsecured people to pour in, and is inside the gates of the most secure building in the world, the White House. The ridiculous ballroom lawsuit brought by a woman walking her dog who has absolutely no standing to bring such a suit must be dropped immediately. Nothing should be allowed to interfere with its construction, which is on the budget and substantially ahead of schedule. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, I agree with him. See, there's this thing in government called pomp and circumstance, and the ignorant fools out there, they shouldn't. Well, I'm sorry. A lot of people prop up their governments. They're proud of their nations, and there is a certain ceremony that goes with things. They tend to make pageants out of this because the nation's greatness is sometimes spoken to by the ceremonies it can put on. And it's unavoidable when you are head of state and you have to represent the United States. You might have to have a function where you have in the ambassadors in there, or a president, or a premier, or king of England, or whatever the case may be. And you have to be able to hold your head up and say, yeah, we can put it on, check out how we roll. So these things, these functions are important. And also, there is this thing where there is a majesty that goes along with your government. Everybody's got on tuxedos, you see. Nobody's coming in looking sloppy. So that's the way you have to do these things. There are ceremonies. It's like in the military. the bands are playing and the soldiers are marching in lockstep and everything is in order and the grandstands are arranged and the protocols are in place and the jets fly over as scheduled. That's how you do these things. So, it is what it is.
All right. So moving on, we're going to stay in the politics, right? Moving on, but before we do, guys, please like the video. Hit the like button, thumbs up. Please share this video, share. So like and share. Also, I put a goal. So if you have a question or a comment, please send it in via super chat. So I want to go to Congress. Let me share this. Let me just say this. I don't have much faith in our government because even with all of this, all of these new revelations of fraud and corruption that's coming out, that's coming to the surface, I highly doubt it that anybody is going to be put in handcuffs or fired or what have you.
You
And
sure?
because I think at best that they may be let go or fired from whatever position, whether
How
it's a
about
state position.
Haldeman, Ehrlichman, Ollie North,
I'm talking about
Spiro
present
Agnew?
day, present day,
Well,
present.
yeah, but that's within lifetime. Spiro Agnew did time in Maryland and also in the U.S.
Bob
government.
Menendez, he's off to prison.
Yeah, and Ollie North got sentenced to prison, but they let him off because of a technicality. Congress got the clowning too much when they wanted to interrogate him and apparently violated his Fifth Amendment rights. So, yeah, they do these things. And then we had our local thing here in Memphis and in Tennessee called the Tennessee Waltz a couple of decades ago, where a whole lot of elected officials went to jail, and somebody running for an office here just got indicted. And they've got a lot of people out there that are about to catch hell. So maybe what the problem is that under the Obama administration, which goes back to 2008, that's when this stuff started, to 2016, there was a hiatus in paying attention to the stuff. George W. Bush was just too damn dumb. But Bush 2.0 with a Barack Obama, it just came the way it was, and that continued with his cousin, George W. And it was just general incompetence, embarrassment, and everybody who was anybody got to get away with what they wanted. And George Soros was beating the meat and getting a big cum because he was so happy with
Well,
events and all of that kind of mess. And the first administration, Trump was just getting into the saddle to learn how to ride, and it went the way it went. But he had 4 years to digest what he had learned, and now he's come back, new sheriff in town, guns are blazing, and the jailhouse is about to be full. And I told you the other day, it's going to take a little while for these things to get together.
true. That is true. And it's only been a year. Now, however, I want to go to this, the Arctic frost, honey. And I want to this clip is 7 minutes. I want to play the whole thing because it's very interesting.
Don't
It's
get a don't get a strike now.
no. This is news. Um, so the Arctic frost, a modern Watergate Senate Judiciary Subcommittee hearings in March and April of this year investigate allegations that the DOJ FBI under Special Counsel Jack Smith weaponized a probe to target over 400 individuals, including Republicans, and improperly collected phone data from Kash Patel, Susie Wells, and others, led by senators like Ted Cruz and Chuck Grassley.
Not he was leading the investigation.
Yes,
He's not.
I know. Yeah, the committee, yeah, led by Senator Ted Cruz and Chuck Grassley. The hearings explored potential legal, constitutional, and political overreach. And this clip here is exposing Nathan Wade lied his black ass in front of Congress. and it's not looking good for
Why
Nathan
didn't he just take the Fifth Amendment?
because he's one of those slick Negroes.
Why? What's wrong with these? Wasn't he supposed to be the special prosecutor? And if he's the special prosecutor, don't you expect him to have some facility with the criminal law? Like, take the Fifth Amendment. Don't get up there and lie. They'll bust you.
Right. So I want to play this clip here.
Senator Cruz.
Thank you to the wise chairman. Mr. Chairman, in the last hearing, we proved that Arctic Frost was no rogue operation. It was authorized at the highest level of the Biden Justice Department. And today we're asking the next question. Who coordinated it? Who profited from it? And who paid the price? Professor Epstein, on April 4th, 2022, Attorney General Merrick Garland, Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, and FBI Director Christopher Wray personally signed off on opening Arctic Frost. Their signatures on a document authorizing a federal investigation into virtually the entirety of the opposing political party. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, Senator.
The operatives in Watergate hid their names. They were embarrassed to be part of weaponizing government. Here, the top leadership of the Department of Justice flaunted their abuse of power. Mr. Epstein, when power at the top gives permission, allies below move quickly. That's how Washington works, isn't it?
I think so, Senator, yes.
And Arctic Frost quickly grew beyond the Department of Justice. Are you familiar with the names Tim Heaphy, Jack Smith, and Thomas Wyndham?
Some of those names, yes. Certainly Jack Smith.
Heaphy led the January 6th committee investigation of President Trump. Smith prosecuted him as special counsel, and Wyndham was Smith's senior deputy. Does that sound right?
Yes.
And all three coordinated with Fani Willis, the Fulton County District Attorney who brought the Georgia RICO case against President Trump, sharing witnesses, sharing documents, helping to prepare her witness interviews. Is that right?
Yes.
And when it was all over, these three men founded a law firm together. Is that right?
It appears so.
Washington has a lot of revolving doors, but this one spun from prosecution to profit. But you need not take my word for it. Follow the money. Nathan Wade, Fani Willis's special prosecutor and her romantic partner, billed Georgia taxpayers $20,000 for 6 federal coordination meetings in 2022 alone. 2 with the White House, 3 with the January 6th committee, 1 on that same day that Jack Smith was appointed special counsel. This was a coordinated, organized operation by the Biden White House, the Biden Justice Department, and the Democrat Party to try to destroy their political opposition because they were terrified that the voters would do what they did, which is in November 2024, re-elect President Donald Trump. And this was the single greatest assault on democracy our nation has ever seen. Our Democrat friends are not shy about saying they're defending democracy, except when it comes to actually letting people vote. And they're willing to use all political power to stop people from voting. You know, Nathan Wade, under oath, he was asked about every one of those meetings. Wade said, "I don't remember." Anyone have a guess for how many times? 58 times. Wade's answer about those meetings was, "I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't remember." Mr. Epstein, when a prosecutor can't remember something 58 times, what does that tell you?
I think the inference is that he's not telling the truth.
I think that is a very fair inference. In your judgment, should the architects of this scheme face criminal prosecution?
I certainly think there is a number of bases to investigate the activities that occurred.
And what bases come to mind?
I think the way in which there was ignoring the proper constitutional appointment of Jack Smith, the evidence of potential bias amongst some FBI agents in the Washington field office, the ways in which there was coordination with the White House counsel's office in ways that I think was inconsistent with the proper interpretation of the Presidential Records Act, and gave no ability for, at the time, former President Trump to assert constitutional privileges, the way in which the record shows that the National Archivist was clearly biased and made referrals to the FBI that were likely unauthorized, doing it through his Inspector General. And I think the evidence that this committee has shown shows that there was unfortunate coordination as for partisan motivation, and these documents shock the conscience.
Weaponizing the Department of Justice for partisan ends to subvert democracy and try and steal an election. Finally, Mr. Clark, you're here today because you have faced this subversion of justice not as a statistic, but as a target. You were a partner at Kirkland & Ellis, spent nearly 30 years as a lawyer, is that right?
That's correct.
Your role in the events at issue, you drafted a memo raising election concerns. That memo was never sent. It was never enacted. DOJ leadership rejected it. Is that right?
That's correct.
And the results were stunning. In response to your writing a memo, there was a pre-dawn raid on your home with 12 agents who ransacked your home for 3.5 hours. Is that right?
That's also correct, and they took computers that had nothing to do with my legal work.
Georgia indictment, arrest, booking. Is all that correct?
Yes.
3 years of concurrent bar proceedings, federal scrutiny and litigation, hundreds of thousands in legal fees. Is that right?
Millions in legal fees, 5 going on 6 years of legal proceedings in the bar.
And last July, D.C. recommended your disbarment, your 29-year law license potentially gone for writing a memo in the Department of Justice. Is that right?
Yes, for writing a privileged memo that was leaked by my political opponents.
Every Democrat involved in this process should be ashamed of the weaponization and the persecution that is occurring. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator.
What did I say was going to happen to Miss Fannie? Fannie going down.
So you heard
Wade going down. Smith going down. Tish going down.
Hey. You heard the whole tape, right?
Yeah, Wade going down. All of them. They're going to be in trouble. See, what they did, you remember, contemporaneously with when this stuff was going on, I said it's inappropriate. While the left was going, see, they got him, they're going to get rid of him. And I said, no, it's going to be the other way around when it all settles down. They said they did wrong. They knew they were doing wrong. They conspired to do wrong. And oh, by the way, they still haven't hit these fools with the conspiracy stuff yet. See, under American law, it can be a criminal conspiracy to do a legal act in a legal fashion. What is otherwise legal becomes illegal when there is a conspiracy afoot to carry it out. So I'm appalled at the stupidity and ignorance displayed by people that ought to know better, who are before the public holding positions of public trust and charged with exercising the law on behalf of the people that they represent, and then being ignorant of that and not being able to apply it even on themselves. And by the way, I am appalled at the millions of dollars in legal fees. I think that is reflective of how garbage-like the American practice of law has gotten with these atrociously high fees. There's nobody in hell can tell me and convince me that what I have been looking at is worth millions of dollars in fees. It's not. And the reason it's gotten to that point is that there are too many lawyers, which doesn't reduce the prices. It just means that so few of them garner large clientele bases that they charge exorbitant fees. The public has been bamboozled because some inexperienced people who are not wise and learned in the law and the ways of the world on the appellate courts have been doing stuff along with some stupid legislators who are attempting to get the bracket, I'm tough on crime or I'm not tough on crime. And they have made our tight, concise codes stews of abominable confusion and red tape. Somebody needs to do something to overhaul our system and strike a whole lot of statutes on the books that are redundant, superfluous, ridiculous, poorly drafted, and add a lot of confusion to what ought to be something that is more straightforward. Additionally, we aren't AI yet, and I don't think we ever should be when it comes to law and justice. But in any event, what happens is you're supposed to have some people that you can trust. But apparently, the public has gotten so inured to criminality and lack of ethics and moral character that we now assume everybody is dishonest for everything. And we try to come up with statutory schemes to overcome the taint of dishonesty that don't do anything about cleaning that up, but just make things more complicated so the ordinary people are priced out of their courts,
Right.
and it's bad.
Well, do you think this is similar to Watergate or
It's
worse?
worse. See, in Watergate, there was no attempt to subvert the system. What it was using the presidential office and authority to break the law in terms of we're going to spy on somebody. This is not a grand scheme stretching from California to New York across several thousand miles of the United States and from the north, from the Canadian border down to the Texas border, where you have a whole lot of people involved in one political party who seem to have forgotten all about the Bill of Rights, justice, and equity, and turned equity into a poisonous term with DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, where it becomes a profane abomination rather than something that stands for fundamental fairness. And we have let our system go to hell. We have paid too much attention to the worst kind of entertainments that have gotten us inured to accusations of corruption. We have gotten too many judges and justices on benches who aren't really even qualified as lawyers to handle severe cases because of their lack of experience. We've got people who are ideologues who do not care about the conceptualizations that are contained in our laws and simply have some political dogma or social dogma or theology that they're trying to push at all cost. And it has gotten absolutely ridiculous. And as we were joking about earlier, we are in the era of the revenge of the nerds. And what is the old saying? Hard times make strong men make good men make weak times. Well, we've got a lot of not weak times, good times make weak men. Well, we've got a lot of weak men out there and women too,
Say
and
that
they
again.
make hard times. So that's where we are right now. We're in the middle of the revenge of the nerds.
Repeat that again, the saying.
The saying is hard times make strong men make good times make weak men make hard times. And it's a repeating cycle. And we are in the middle of the good times make weak men, and the weak men and women are out there trying to make hard times again. We've got too many people of the masculine gender who are too sissified and too girled up and don't understand the need that some half of the human race has for the good of the whole human race to be critical, analytical, reasonable, rational, logical, objective, and detached from things, and be hardcore about how you handle stuff rather than going around emoting and trying to deal with holding back your tears. It's absolutely astonishing.
Right.
Revenge of the Nerds. I think I'm going to order that movie on somebody's cable this upcoming week and watch that to refresh my recollection. And then the black guy in there is the biggest sissy in the bunch. God. And look,
Say that, you can't say that word.
yeah, well, they're sissies, you know.
God.
So look at what they have in Congress in the Black Caucus now. If they don't look like a bunch of 7B sissies, 5B sissies, I don't know what else.
Our guest is here.
Good. Let's bring on. He's trying to defeat some of those 5B boys. You know, should I explain what 5B stands for?
Go ahead, because I know you want to.
Yeah, let's do that.
5B. First B, unbelt. Second B, drop britches. Third B, drop boxers. Fourth B, bend over. 4 and 5, get boy banged.
Okay.
That's what we have too much of in the Black Caucus. That is their catechism of initiation into their theology of the rainbow. And
Well,
we have too many of the rainbow Negro type running around looking like they want to be jackasses. Isn't that the symbol for the Democratic Party? The jackass? Yeah. All right.
all right.
So, madam, I'm glad to have you here as representative of the elephant clade. So, anyway, tell us about it.
Hi,
Good evening. How
Rosemary.
are you all?
Good. Where are you?
I am in Clarksville, Ohio, at the Clinton. At the Clinton County Republican dinner, and so I stepped away so that I could talk to you all. So yeah, I'm in Clarksville.
Okay. Yeah, because okay, I can see. I was going to say if you could can you put your phone up a little bit, or is it on a?
There we go. It's like on a stand, a homemade stand. That's where we are.
Well, you on a
There
roll.
we go. There we go.
Introduce yourself to the audience again. This is like your third or fourth time up here. Glad to have you back. But tell us, who are you? And I know you're running for office, so just do a quick intro.
Yes, so I'm Rosemary Oglesby Henry, aka Miss Rosemary, running for U.S. Congress Ohio's first district, which is Southwest Ohio, Clinton County, Hamilton County, and Warren County. And I am running on Babies, Businesses, and Ohio First as the first Black Republican candidate to run for office, not DEI, but the most qualified.
Right. Exactly. And so how's the campaign coming along, and when is the election?
The election is 8 days away. So the election, the primary is May the 5th. For those that don't know, please, if you are in Ohio or just around the country, please vote. The primary actually chooses the front runner. And a lot of people don't know that. We always vote in the November election because we don't want to pull a ballot, or we just don't know if there's a primary happening. But the primary chooses the front runner. And my election is on May the 5th. President Trump actually endorsed somebody in my election. But
Can you see us?
hold on. Hear me? Hello?
I can hear you. It's just
Okay.
it's a little.
Yeah. So
Can you hear me?
President Trump actually
I hear you.
endorsed in the
I couldn't for a
primary.
while, but I do know.
Yeah. But I still see a lot of enthusiastic people about the race. Like, this has been like one of the most exciting races to watch, because You see these people that are saying, hey, I don't want to go with the machine anymore. We're seeing the party really divided between conservatives and patriots. And there is a lot of movement happening almost daily. And with, you see what just happened this weekend with the president, which today I was at the Board of Elections and people were like, running to the polls, which is exciting because we need people to get out, vote, get the right people in office, to make sure that we're creating legislation to be able to move this country forward.
Well, I definitely wanted to bring you on so that, people can support, go to your website to donate. And if you are in District 1, Ohio, to go out and vote for you. And I also wanted to talk about fraud, right? It's a lot of people being exposed for fraud in politics today, and rightfully so. I
Yeah.
think we need to get a lot of the wrong people out of office and
Yes.
usher in the new, such as yourself. I wanted to highlight one particular incident. We all know or heard of Nick Shirley, young man. He's the one that exposed the Minnesota fraud. And the Democrats introduced a bill in California, the Nick
Yes.
Shirley Act, to ban journalists from reporting on fraud and interviewing people. So I want to share just a quick first 2 minutes of Nick Shirley explaining what this act is. What is this? Okay, here we go.
Here in California, they are trying to pass the Stop Nick Shirley Act. The official title of this bill is AB 2624. And if this bill were to get passed, instead of going after the fraudsters, they're trying to make it criminal to go after the people that are committing this fraud. For instance, it would become criminal to film and reveal info on taxpayer-funded immigration services like healthcare, which would include daycare, hospices. It also covers counseling services, translation services, and immigration legal services. So for instance, if the Quality Learning Center was inside of California, it would be illegal to expose them. It would make it illegal to film government-funded NGOs. And this bill essentially wants to shield the info of immigrant support services from the public. So your tax dollars, you'd have no idea where it's going because it would then become confidential and you would not be able to see how much money that NGO is getting if it's going towards immigrant services. And what makes this bill super interesting is the lady who created this bill, her name is Mia Bonta. Her husband is the Attorney General of California named Rob Bonta. You cannot make this up. So you have the Attorney General who's supposed to prosecute and go after the fraudsters, and then you have his wife who's trying to pass bills to go after the people exposing the fraud. Like, seriously, this is absolutely crazy. And the AG, Rob Bonta, just a few days ago said they were cracking down on the fraud way before certain people came into the state.
We've been doing it successfully before certain people in this country decided to think about it for the first time.
However, it was only after I exposed over $100 million in fraud they actually made any arrest here inside of California. Let's say this bill gets passed. What could happen to you if you expose fraud or go and look into immigration services? Well, you could receive a $4,000 fine underneath a civil fine, a $10,000 fine if it's criminal, and a $50,000 fine if it becomes a felony. You may also face potential imprisonment and your content be forced to be taken down. This is a complete violation of the First Amendment, as they are trying to take down and suppress your own speech, make it so you can't film in public, which is taking away your freedom of press. There's a whole lot of issues with this bill.
First, it was Minnesota.
Wow.
You will cooperate fully. You will not protest. You will enjoy what we have done, yeah? You will be subject to the closest scrutiny, yeah? Fritz, come and see here. Das ist wunderbar, yeah?
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to get your thoughts, Rosemary, first, and then Judge. I want to get the legal aspect to it. So go ahead.
Yeah. So, my original thought is That's what you're supposed to do as an American citizen. When you see wrongdoing, you report it. So now I'm going to be criminalized for making sure that institutions aren't taken advantage of. Secondly, I just don't really understand how you can violate people's First Amendment rights to be able to go online and report and to directly attack this one individual person. It just seems very much retaliatory because he got so many views and because he put this spotlight on this specific industry. And then finally, I am a nonprofit 501c3, and that is the point of being a for-profit, a public entity or public nonprofit. You can request at any time where your dollars are going. And so that is the importance of transparency. And that's what we should want as a government agency, to be transparent so that people can have more trust in their government officials and their government and where their funding is going. So this is just very disappointing all the way around, from the administration that's pushing it, to the public trust, to where our dollars are going, and just strictly a violation of Constitution.
Judge?
You will support the National Socialist Party. We are outlawed in Deutschland, but we are doing well in America. The National Socialist Workers' Party of Germany is exactly contemporaneous with, well, not contemporaneous, but very much similar to the National Socialist Party of America. The one in America is known as the Democratic Party. The acronym for the one in Germany had the initials NAZI, Nazi. So you have two socialist workers' parties, one of Germany known as the Nazis and one of America known as the Democrats. So that's exactly what you have here, is suppression of the First Amendment right. To expose wrongdoing in government is one of the principal points that is embraced in the First Amendment to the Constitution, ratified in 1791. And these characters are trying to basically erase one of the things that distinguishes this country from every other one in the world. So I find it appalling, disgusting. I find it's treasonous, even though that doesn't match the standards of treason as defined in the U.S. Constitution.
So anything else you want to say about this, Rosemary? Because you look, Ilion, honey, changing her tax reporting from 20 million to under 100,000.
Yeah,
Tax
yeah,
fraud, tax
yeah,
evasion.
I just think that personally, we are in a time where it brings me back to a couple of years ago when Cat Williams was on a show, and he's like, it's either God or them. And there's a lot of things that are about to become public. And I know that sounds bad, but it's like he was speaking truth before it ever happened. And this administration that we're in, the Trump administration, is making people uncomfortable. They are shaking things up. We are actually, the people, they have been pointing the fingers at all of these so-called billionaires on the Republican side, but we are now daylighting some of the fraud, the waste, the corruption on the other side. But what does the Bible say? He who cast the first stone, and they are living in a bunch of glass houses. So, I think that we're going to see a lot more of this. And I think a lot of people are right now, they're trying to get their things in order before it is daylighted. And so, but that's what we want in government, to bring these things to light, to ensure that they don't happen again. We make sure that processes are changed in order for, America to be able to move forward. And more than that, to hold people accountable, for what they do with our money. And that's why, again, we need good people in office. That's why I'm running for a congressional office in 1st District. Washington might endorse but it is the people of Ohio who still votes. And, and I will be transparent when I go into office. What you see is what you get. And I represent the people. Like I tell people, we might run based on party, but when you get into office, you're supposed to represent all people. And so this administration is doing a well-founded job in making sure these things are put out there and these people are put on blast. And we are, I don't think that the party is filtering First Amendment rights. I think that they are definitely saying, allow these people to open up, help us find those people that are illegally stealing money and betraying government trust. And instead of thanking them, we'll punish them. That's not what we do in America.
Well, listen,
Actually, there's a name for that. It's called, well, anyway, it's got to do with tampering with witnesses, suppression of evidence. Uh, actually, the statute as it's been read violates some federal laws, which you can do something about adding a provision once you get there that does not exempt somebody from its application just because of the official position that they hold.
right.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Rosemary.
Thank you.
Obstruction of justice is what it is.
Is the election next Tuesday?
May the 5th. So, yeah, I think it is next Tuesday. I think
Wow,
it is.
listen, I want everybody to go to her website. That's www.voterosemary.com. Donate, and if you're in District 1 in Ohio, vote for her. We need her
Yes.
in office. And I'm definitely going to reach out to you this week so that we could hopefully pre-record something for the weekend as well. So
Yeah.
I appreciate
Absolutely. Thank you all so much and have a good one.
Good luck.
I like her a lot.
Yeah, I do too. And yeah, see, we don't need any more of those bozo jackasses up in there doing more of that kind of stuff. That is just, it's like any way you read what they're trying to do, it comes out translated obstruction of justice,
Right.
quote unquote, which is a crime.
Yeah, so sticking on so this Nick Shirley Act, right? In California.
And it's California's lost its mind. That's why I no way. No way.
So
It's pathetic.
is it constitutional? Is this legal?
No, it's not. And it also does an interesting thing. It puts the state legislature in the preposterous position of passing a law that violates federal criminal law. Also, the long-standing law of the state of California too, which is both of them have a name. It's called obstruction of justice.
Mhm.
See, you want to make it a crime to expose somebody who blows the whistle on criminal activity?
Now,
You have lost your mind. Where in the devil do you come up with that? Not even the boldest crook in Tammany Hall, 19th century New York would have even thought of that one.
true. But that's what I'm saying. So if this is passed, right? And let's just say there's a Democrat in the White House and a Democrat administration and a Democrat controlled Congress, right? I think the Democrats in California, they're going to can they reverse this because
Oh, of course they can. California Supreme Court will kick it. But the other interesting thing is you
no, no,
know
no, but I'm
who
saying, no, I'm not talking about a judge or a Supreme Court reversing it. I'm talking about the politicians who presented this act and passed it. Can they, in turn, eventually down the line, dismiss it or get rid of it?
well, what I'd predict is since California has a provision in its law, if they just get enough signatures, they can get this issue put on a ballot. And I think the voters would probably overturn it on a ballot initiative.
Okay, because this is what I'm saying
It's
here.
like Prop 8. Prop 8 says a marriage is only between a man and a woman. Now, this is California, but the 3 times that issue has been on the ballot, it's passed overwhelmingly, but the California Supreme Court has chosen to declare it inappropriate and struck it down. So even though California is associated with that rainbow stuff, the majority of the people of the California, at least twice and arguably the third time, said, marriage is only between a man and a woman. And that's not what the press would have you think that would be a position that would be viable in California. But next to the last time, I think it got 62% of the vote. So they, by the way, Arnold Schwarzenegger got in as governor the first time because they recalled the previous governor, the Democratic governor of California. So California does have these recall provisions and these ballot initiatives, and they do it all the time. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of these clowns didn't get recalled or the statute that they're talking about,
Right.
if it passes, would be struck down on a ballot initiative, if not by the California Supreme Court.
Well, because this is where I'm coming from with this, because the Republicans control Congress and the White House, right? And so, of course, you have all of these investigations going on, exposing the fraud, legitimate fraud. So I'm just saying, if the Democrats were to ever have control of the White House and Congress, they're probably going to try and do the same thing that a lot of Republicans, citizens are doing right now, is expose the fraud of the Trump administration, or, any state, or, different Republicans in different states. Oh, well, you did it when Trump was in office. Now our person is in office. So we're going to expose the Republican fraud.
Well, how often have I said, be careful what you get? You try to get, you just might get it. And when you try to protect the class, which is this, from being exposed, it comes back and backfires on you very quickly. And by the way, you know who would get jacked up under this law?
Who?
Crime Enroll Network, Lemon Bud.
Oh, Don Lemon. That's right.
Yeah. See, all that bunch would be jacked up. So I'm just giggling at the rank stupidity. They rushed out and they didn't even take the time to sit down and reflect on what it is they're doing.
Right. And then two, it's unconstitutional for you to
Of
even do.
course it is. And that's why I said this isn't even going to get past the California Supreme Court.
Well, I want to play this quick clip. This is Nick Shirley. He followed the California Speaker of the House talking about that.
The bill AB 2624, why would you sign off on that? It's a direct violation of the First Amendment, and it makes it harder for people to expose fraud here.
We have Ledge Counsel. They check the constitutionality of all our bills as we're writing them. I work on fraud issues. You'd know that if you look at some of the work I did on the budget subcommittee.
Amazing. So Myopia, her husband's the Attorney General of the Attorney General of California, and it was only until I exposed fraud that they actually cracked down on the fraud and made some arrests here, especially with the hospices. And do you know that if this bill were to pass, it'd make it illegal for someone to go after fraud, especially if it's based off of immigrants, for instance, the Armenians in California?
No, I think that that's a misinterpretation of the bill, but I'm happy to talk with you more about it. And fraud and investigations into fraud are something that's been happening for a very long time. The Attorney General handles those cases. This is an ongoing issue.
That the wife of the Attorney General, Myopia, is now pushing this bill that literally goes against the First Amendment.
No, I actually don't. I don't think that this bill violates the First Amendment. I mean,
Really?
that's the whole purpose. We have Ledge Counsel and Ledge attorneys that talk with us about this. Constitutionality is really important to the work.
So your bill criminalizes publication of images recorded in public. Do you believe the government has the right to punish journalists for filming in public space?
No, I think that is a complete misinterpretation of actually the piece of legislation.
That is not. That's literally what happened. Speaker Rivas, how are you doing? What do you think about the Stop Nick Shirley Act, AB 2624?
I don't know anything about it.
And do you think there's any conflict of interest there with Myopia and her husband being the AG? That just shows you everything you need to know. These people won't even answer the questions.
Well, you know what's interesting? The Attorney General of the state of California, I don't know this gentleman. I know one they've had, Kamala Imhoff, was an ignorant jackass, and I wasn't impressed with anything she
The bill
supported, including dismissing 5,200 counts of indictments against Mnuchin, the CEO for One West Bank, and One West Bank that was essentially owned by George Soros, who financed and funded her getting in to be Attorney General of the state so she could dismiss those cases so he could sell the business 2 weeks after she dismissed the indictments for, what was it, $3.4 billion. And I went to UCLA Law School, did pretty well there. And at the time I went, I didn't get in under any affirmative action program. I got through the front door and I did pretty damn well at the place. So I think I am on the same level as anybody they got out in California right now to express opinion. And that's full of shit. That is so far off into the Nazi, fascisty, old time communisty level about destroying free speech. That is just horrendous.
Well,
And
here's
besides, they're so stupid, they just outlawed most of what their folk do.
but that's what I'm saying. So if the law were to pass, even him, Nick Shirley, walking with these politicians to interview them,
That would be illegal.
that would be illegal.
If he exposed it, no, excuse me. If he exposed any crime, that's what makes it so bad about the way that's drafted. Not just that you did it, but if you had the temerity to expose criminal activity, then you would be in violation.
But you and then this, but he also said in this bill, you can't even ask questions.
Yeah, I know. Anything that leads to the prosecution for violation of any of these particular acts, you know, it's supposed to be criminalized. That is absurd. The idea that somebody said, we're going to be progressive and to protect these criminals who have crashed our border and are in our country illegally, we're going to make it a crime to expose their criminality. What kind of fool, damn fool, do you come across looking like when you do that?
Right.
Oh, well, I didn't know. I thought it was supposed to be helping somebody. What do you? I don't know anything about it. Oh, you don't? Man, we were just trying to help, man. It's all about love, man. All these people are getting picked on, man. We need to stop it, man. They have a right to be free, too. You know, they can come here. What's a little border, man?
I'm trying to find something. Oh, here we go. I want to bring this to your attention. Wait a minute. I'm about to play it in a minute. Because I want to stick a
I'm
little.
lamenting R.I. Rest in peace to sanity and common sense in California. It's dead. A moment of silence.
Wait, we got to do the moment of silence. Go ahead, do it right.
Moment of silence for sanity and common sense in the state of California. May it rest in peace.
Okay. So Hakeem Jeffries, right? It was take your child to work day. And so at the Capitol, he does his press conference. He take questions from the press. And I guess one of the reporters brought their kid to work. And this is the question that this brilliant child asked Hakeem Jeffries. And I think it caught him off guard.
I call him hacky sack.
Why do voters view Democrats so poorly?
Did your dad give you that question? It's a great question in that. I'm gonna have words with you after this, Margo.
Do you have a favorite type of candy, and if so, what is it?
Favorite type of candy?
Yeah.
Now, I really love that question. I've been trying to eat healthy. And so actually sugar-free Hershey's chocolate has become the candy of my choice.
If you were to go back 20
Mr.
minutes,
Jeffries, why do we have to look at those perverted rainbows in our school?
Well, the child asked him, "Why do voters view Democrats so poorly?" And
And that's the truth of it, but that's not what the press says. It's the other way around. It's like even out of the mouths of children. You're some ignorant bozos. You don't make no sense. What's the
right.
matter with you?
And so, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if a child could ask you that, they see what is going on. They hear what people are saying. When you have this person here in Ilion, I think it's just a matter of time when they force.
Somebody's trying to sneak in a way.
Let's see this.
My
Sure,
goodness.
it's public now.
Oh, let's start here.
I got a feeling. I got a feeling now. I got a feeling somebody's going to do some time.
So let me play this here.
Hi, Congresswoman Omar. You were just talking about how Trump's economy has failed the American people, but I think the American people really want to know how you went from a negative 65,000 before coming into Congress to over $30 million in just 7 years.
My disclosure is public now.
Yeah, it is. And so a lot of people now are looking into that and finding S. Crew Winery, a winery that doesn't actually seem to exist. Is that a real winery, or?
Do you all actually look at and read things, or do you just ask silly questions?
Well, it's listed in the financial disclosure, so can you explain it? Because we have a lot of questions about it, and things just aren't adding up. There's no real phone number. There's no real location.
Why did you want to buy some wine?
Probably not from you, to be honest. Recently stated that the American people should be afraid of the white man. They should be fearful of the white man.
I never said that.
Yeah, you're on video saying it.
Our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country.
No, I did not. Yes, you.
Again, this is like what I said. You need to.
Oh, you got busted.
Because you can't continue embarrassing yourself like this.
So I'm just a liar.
What I was quoting was an actual study done by the FBI.
Okay, thank you.
Just prepare next time.
All right, thank you, Congresswoman.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you find that the witness has misspoken or spoken falsely, you are not required to accept their testimony in that respect. You may reject it, accept it in part, or reject it in part, or reject it totally. If you find, due to matters touching upon credibility, that the witness has spoken falsely in relation to any part of their testimony, you may disregard all of it. In other words, the heifer been lying. She got caught, cold cock busted, recorded, videoed, makeup on, and lighting in place, and do done.
But
we saw it.
California want to pass a bill prohibiting journalists, from exposing fraud.
Yeah, that's like I said. We're going to be progressive in the state of California. We are making it the law that if you expose crime and you upset someone, you have committed a crime by exposing them. Does that make sense? Well, that's what they said. Wait a minute, man. What did you just try to run by me, man? You think I'm a fool, man? Like I'm gonna go, man, we don't roll like that, man. Like, come over here. Smack him upside his head. What you trying to do, man? You trying to rip me off, man? Did you ever that dude try to run this game on me, man? What we gonna do?
You're funny. So I want to go to NAACP because last week the
Please.
Southern. Oh,
Please, can I have a moment to compose myself? they have gotten to be such a good comedy act. Unfortunately, they don't have a good stand-up comedian these days, but they make a good comedy act.
Who?
NAACP.
Oh. Well, last week, the Southern Poverty Law Center had 11 indictments come down on them. And so my question is the NAACP next? And I say that to say they went online defending Southern Poverty Law Center, right?
National Association of
So it says,
I won't say it yet. I won't say
right.
it.
So the NAACP tweeted out, posted on X, the DOJ's indictment of the Southern Poverty Law Center is a chilling attack on civil rights advocacy. Trump's DOJ has been weaponized by dangerous forces. Every organization and individual engaged in social justice should be alarmed. What we are seeing in real time is an administration seeking to leverage its position to target individuals and organizations that do not agree with this political thought. And this is by the NAACP president, Derek. This is the same man who tried to compare try to say it's similarities of Black people migrating from the South to the North. I'm saying that's the same as these illegals coming in through the border. He also goes on to say, he also goes on to the end where he says, stand with us. We're urging every advocate to speak out and encouraging every voter to make their voices heard loud and clear in November during midterm elections.
How about all the loyal American citizens of Mexican extraction who have come over here legally, migrated legally, been good citizens, and then you want to let the riffraff just sneak in and cut the line?
Exactly.
And it's not just Mexicans. See, you've got Somalians, you've got folk from Iran, you've got folk from North Korea that snuck in, China that stuck in, from all of those places over in Africa that somehow they went, took the boat or the plane over and went to South America and hiked up. You've got all of the emptied, the rejects from the jails in South and Central America. You've got all of the perverts, the pedophiles. You've got the murderers, the junkies, the infected with something that they don't have a cure for type. You've got the criminals and you've got the terrorist fanatics who are upset that they don't have B-52s, B-1s, B-2s, F-35s, F-15Es, F-22s, A-10s, and all this other stuff, and they get a chance to walk across the border unmolested, get free transportation, bring some of the family members over and get up to $5,000 a month for an illegal family of four, free medical care. They don't even have to read the language, and they get over the road truck driving licenses, which endanger people on the highways. They get driver's license issued to them, and people know that they're here illegally, which is why we all had to go get our birth certificates and go back and get those licenses with the star up in the corner because of that.
Well, here's the thing, because that's not the focus of the NAACP, even though
Oh,
that's
yes, it is. It's
it is,
rank
but
stupidity.
that's what they support. But also, so this is the question: is it a possibility that they may end up just like the Southern Poverty Law Center? You know, if they, I'm pretty sure the Trump administration is probably investigating NAACP to see, okay, are you dotting your I's and crossing your T's, or did you funnel money, to different organizations to try to disrupt society or create events, particularly what you just laid out when it comes to immigration, because NAACP has been working with other groups such as the ACLU and other organizations that help with legal process for illegals that want to stay here or so-called seeking asylum. So, do you think that's a possibility that NAACP may
Yeah, they can. See, years and years, decades ago, I paid up and became a life member. All right. Right now, in my opinion, there are maybe a handful of chapter presidents around the country who have good sense, at the top of which is Dr. Cheyenne Bryant of Long Beach, California. Other than that, I would say NAACP stands for the National Association for the Advancement of Crazy People, or the National Association for the Advancement of Crooked People, because so many of them are crooks. And all they do is pimp what happened over the last 100 some years for personal gain. And they're just as bad as a pulpit pimp who takes all those people in the congregation that are fearful of going to hell for doing so much wrong in life that they think they can pay the pimp in the ecclesiastical robes to say something that'll keep them from burning in the fires. But anyway,
and
yeah,
so and we don't know if they are being
they
investigated, but
should be.
I think they should be. Yeah, I think so. I think
And
they should be.
especially, although it is only loosely affiliated, the NAACP Image Awards, where I know there's money laundering going on, because half of the membership to vote on any category consists of 400 people from the entertainment industry who don't even have to be members. So it's a good way to launder money, to push stuff on the public and press propaganda. So, yeah, they need to investigate the whole thing from top to bottom.
So, speaking of NAACP, the NAACP held their award ceremony in Detroit, right? And yeah, Detroit NAACP dinner, and New Jersey, New York Attorney General Letitia James, the Honorable Letitia James, she received the Ida B. Wells Freedom and Justice Award.
Tish gonna do some time. I got a feeling somebody's going to do some time. And if it's Tish, that'll be mighty fine. I
Well,
can't say, but you know.
I want to play I want to play some of the clip here.
My heart is full. My heart is grateful. Before I begin, I think it's really critically important that I say tonight that political violence has no place in society. No, I don't think you heard me. Political violence has no place in society. You see, my life has been threatened many a times, but no weapon formed against me shall prosper. You see, I got a wedge of protection around me.
Here is the one thing that probably turns more people away from your profile than
We needed
anything
a
else.
commercial
People
break
decide
on
how
that one.
competent you
Isn't her team the one that's
And so-
advocating for doing all this harm to everybody?
Right. So
Well, maybe you gonna get a chance as Madam Prosecutor to see the inside of a jail when they get through with you in Virginia, because the deficiencies of the prosecutor that ran the operation will be cured, and the case wasn't dismissed. It's just he had no standing to bring the indictment. So your little plump behind ain't out of hot water yet. They're gonna put an apple in your mouth and put some pineapple garnishes on you and some seasoning and some cloves and spices when they put you in the oven and bake you up and give you to all them big gals up in that penitentiary. Ooh, girl, look what just walked through the door. Honey, looky there. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to fast forward to this part here because I found this kind of interesting.
Of the ties that bind us all. So it means more than I can express to receive this award, this Ida B. Wells Freedom and Justice Award. I share this award with my fellow AG from Michigan, AG Dana Nessel, who recently denied the Department of Justice's request for ballot information, calling it an attempt to interfere in state elections and an attempt to sabotage
Stop. I was in college when I heard the Democratic Party, those that weren't controlled by the Dixiecrats, ranting and railing about the Democratic Party doing wrong to people because they wanted to control what happened in their states, and the federal government had no business trying to pry into their efforts to keep the Negroes. George, we's keeping our Negroes properly segregated. We ain't gonna let them nowhere. That same situation there, the party that this idiot represents was hollering about somebody go in there and do something about it. And now this witch is taking the same position those damn Dixiecrats took 70, 65, and 60 years ago. Exactly the same. I got him.
democratic process. This award's namesake once said, "The way to right wrongs is to light the truth upon them, to shine light in the darkness." A.G. Nessel is the holder of that light of liberty in Michigan, just as our ancestors grabbed the torch of freedom and used it to light the way forward for all of us. I was recently in Selma, Alabama, taking part in that sacred pilgrimage to honor the brave Americans whose protests sparked the passage of the Voting Rights Act. They were weary and thirsty, not from their walk, but from their journey for freedom. They were bloodied and bruised. They were arrested and jailed, but they did not back down. At the bus stops, at the ballot boxes, at the lunch counters, and in the halls of power, they were unapologetic. They were
Hold on a
fearless.
second. Hold on a second. I had the occasion for long hours to go through about 60,000 pages of the U.S. congressional record. And what she's talking about was not brought about by the Boule civil rights marchers across the bridge getting their behinds beat. It got brought about because when they got to the foot of the bridge, when they wound up getting where they were going, they had a big crowd of black folk from the projects out there. And the police brought out the water hoses and turned the dogs loose. And the people from the projects were not nonviolent. They were peaceful, but they weren't nonviolent. They beat up the dogs, beat up the cops, and everybody was, oh my God, the Negroes are getting violent. What are we going to do? And then somebody said, we better do something about this situation before it gets really bad. And then they had August 1965 when out in Los Angeles, they had that uprising that they had to bring in 15,000 National Guard troops to put out because LAPD couldn't handle it. Yeah. So why don't you stop talking about those nice little folk that were down on their knees getting their asses whipped until somebody felt guilty about it, and start talking about those ordinary folk down in the projects that manned up, got out there and kicked some ass for a change instead of getting ass kicked.
Right. Should I play some more? Is that enough?
That's enough. I haven't eaten dinner yet. I don't want to completely lose my appetite. Tish gonna do some time. Tish gonna be a wish. She gonna wish she was out. We gonna give her a shout. Tish gonna do some time, and that'll be mighty fine. I got a feeling somebody's going to do some time.
So I wanted to bring this to your attention, right?
Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
It's deed theft. Are you familiar with that?
What?
Deed, deed, death, theft, like steal, theft.
Deed theft?
Yes, that's it.
What the hell does that mean? That's somebody's performing name.
No. Wait, let me and guys, please hit the like button and share this video. So I do have a couple of clips, but I wanted to share this before I play those clips. Yeah. So it says a syndicate crime. Syndicate or syndicate? Syndicate. A syndicate
A
crime.
syndicate crime.
Bed-Stuy eviction fight continues as homeowners and activists allege deed
Deed
theft,
theft.
court misconduct.
Okay, somebody stole some deeds or forged some deed signatures. Okay, what are they doing here? This is in New York, Chicago, or where?
New York and Brooklyn. And so we're talking about the brownstones, right? Where was this clip at? All right. So this woman here, Carmela Charrington, she was being interviewed about her ongoing fight to retain her family home. And she notes Attorney General James changed her stance from saying her situation is indeed theft to saying it emanated emanated from the theft. So let me just play this clip here.
Wait. So what? Go ahead.
There was a press release issued through Stop Deed Theft that said that the Attorney General had originally said that this is not an instance of deed theft here at 212, and then has since adjusted to say that it emanated from deed
that
theft.
was kind of weird. Emanated, that means it started, right? Emanate. So how does it start and then not end as that? If this starts from that, that's what it is. And that's what it is. It was always deed theft. She knew it was deed theft, but because she felt that we don't have law degrees, that we wouldn't be able to articulate it and understand this is a form of deed theft. We are here ending this crisis of deed theft. No more. No more. It's gonna stop. Every family, anyone that has experienced a deed theft, we are gonna be here to support them.
What the hell
and
are they
protect.
talking about? Somebody needs to explain it. I've been doing this for 50 years. I've never heard of deed theft. Where did this come up?
Okay, so her particular situation, right? It says that Carmela is a longtime resident, Jefferson Avenue, stood outside her home on April 27 along with 100 demonstrators after word spread that the sheriff office might return to the home Monday to continue with eviction proceedings that ended in chaos. So she is fighting to retain ownership of her family home while also contesting legal proceedings involving her father, Almond Charrington. Supporters say the case is emblematic of broader issues affecting homeowners across the city. While
What are we talking about?
Huh?
What city are we talking about?
New York City, particularly
New
the
York.
borough of Brooklyn, but New York City, yes.
Where they have the new
mayor. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So her
yeah.
situation,
Okay.
so her situation, the Charrington family owned the property for 60 years. City records show the house was sold by a number of supposed heirs, as well as Almond's conservatory in Georgia, to 227 Group LLC for $1.4 million in 2023. However, Charrington has said her father was unaware of the sale and that the family, including her father, who relocated back to New York City from Georgia in 2021, was still living in the home at the time. Charrington said that the other heirs had no legal claim to sell the house, and the conservator in Georgia failed to follow the law in selling Almond's shares.
What she may be talking about, I've encountered when I was practicing law, is there are a group of heirs to a property. In this case, has been in the family for 60 years, since say 1965, let's say. And one of the heirs has wanted some money, so he sold his share, which would be typically a tenancy in common, which is a percentage, undivided percentage of the whole interest in the property, got money out of it, and the person that bought that tenancy in common or that undivided share wants it sold so they can get it back, and they went to court with proceeds. Now, I don't know whether the party that everybody traces ownership from goes back to the grandfather, which, if it's just 60 years, I suspect isn't from the grandfather, because the grandfather would be in my age range, and we would have been 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 years old 60 years ago. So it wouldn't have been us. It might have been granddad's dad or grandfather, in which case it's longer than 60 years. But what happened is you've got second and third cousins with an interest in the property, and any one of them could have sold it because, right now, New York property values are high, and they're trying to tax people who have unoccupied residences in New York City so they can get some money for their socialist program. So
Right. Now,
it might be something lucrative. So I have absolutely no idea what the devil's going on without looking at a whole lot of documents. So, and
right.
it's not my job. I'm not practicing law. Don't care to get involved in that. It's just intriguing, and it's not atypical. This happens often. And what, Tish was on the other side, and then it got apolitical. So now she's flip flopped.
Yeah, so this person wrote here, Carmela Charrington does not own the property. Her father did, and his conservatorship and other family members received payment upon the sale. Case closed. So it seemed like there were a lot of people names must have been on his deed. And then if he has Alzheimer's, so he puts his property in conservatorship. And if multiple people names are on the deeds, then anybody could say to a company, okay, I'm gonna sell my property to you without.
Well, he doesn't have to. What happens is he can't sell the whole property. What they wind up doing is selling their interest in the property. So, in other words, if you're a tenant in common and you've got 10 cousins, each of you has an undivided 1/10 interest in the property. Any of you, unless there's something in the primary deed that forbids it, you can sell your 10th share to whomever you please. And that person can demand that the interest he has gets protected, or she has, and demand a sale of the entire property so they can get their share out of it.
And so somebody else typed here, while homeowner Carmela Charrington was fighting to protect her father who has Alzheimer's, a court appointed neutral lawyer, Luann Bonney, acted as the legal bridge that allowed the new wife and the 12 heirs to sell the property without Carmela Charrington's consent. That sounds messy as hell.
Well, they don't, like I said, they don't need her consent to sell their undivided percentage of the property. How many of them are there?
Apparently 12, including the wife.
Well, and that's what I say. They each probably have 1/12 undivided interest in the property, and they can sell that. And if 8 or 9 of them decide to sell it, then the person who controls the 8 or 9/12 of the property, which would be 3/4, in other words, if it's 9/12, yeah, 3, 4, yeah, would control 3/4, could demand a sale of the property. He could buy it at an auction that they'd probably put it up to. I don't know what they've done in the court system, but That's
Well,
the
it
way
says
things
here,
work.
it says Letitia James' office has said that the Charrington's case was not deed theft. At a press conference last week, AG said referred to the situation as a scam, and likes of which had inspired her office to create a homeowner protection program, but said that Charrington's situation, technically it wasn't a deed theft, it was emanated, and how you pronounce that?
Emanated.
Emanated from deed theft. What does that mean?
I don't have a clue where it's worded right there. I imagine what happened is uh, somebody's been fighting over who has the control of the property.
Can you read that? Because I made it kind of bigger. And again, it's the way
It is
people
in New
like,
York, but what happened? He lives a resident of another state, and part of his property holdings were in New York, but he disposes of them elsewhere. So the state estate is getting handled in another jurisdiction. I don't know enough about this case to say anything about it.
right. No, and it's not, and that's what I'm saying. When you get into the details of a situation, it's not cut and dry. You
No,
know,
it's not. And then these days, everybody's all up in arms, protesting, screaming, and hollering, and I can't breathe scenarios behind stuff. They don't have a clue what's going on or what the issues are.
right. Now, when this happened, wait, let me see this clip here.
New York's first female Hasidic judge, Rachel Fryer, sent Brooklyn grandmother Carmela Charrington to Rikers Island on Thursday after ruling that she was in civil contempt of court for not handing over her 84-year-old father to Adult Protective Services for the state of Georgia. Last night, Carmela's attorney argued in court that Carmela's rights are being wholly violated and that Judge Rachel Fryer is being extremely heavy-handed to someone who has no criminal record and has a power of attorney over her father. Last night, the judge signed an order to release Carmela. However, as of now, Carmela is still in Rikers, and the NYPD conducted a search warrant at her residence this morning looking for her father. This is just one piece of a complicated deed theft case in Bed-Stuy, New York, a historically black neighborhood that has lost over 22,000 black residents in just one decade while gaining 30,000 whites. The Charrington family has owned this home for over 60 years, but their father's guardian allegedly sold it off to the Israel-linked Mbalo brothers, who then later sold it to a Shell LLC. Almond Charrington's Georgia home also mysteriously burned down, with "This could have been worse" written on the walls. So while Carmela is trying to protect her father as well as her family's Brooklyn brownstone that multiple generations of her family live inside, including her 5-year-old granddaughter and 6-month-old grandson, Judge Rachel Fryer has her sitting in general population at Rikers Island, and although she was supposed to be released yesterday, Carmela is on day 6 at Rikers Island with a scheduled eviction of her residence still on the books for tomorrow.
Yeah, well,
New York's first
this is, it could be an injustice. It could be a lot of wop, hoopla, blah, blah going on. It could be a very bad miscarriage of justice. But the mayor of the city is more inclined to gentrify the place and make sure that even the rich folk are occupied and they can't come in when they choose, even if they bought the properties. He wants to raise money so he can finance his socialist programs. And she wasn't able to tend the proper amount of attention to what was going on down in some southern state. I don't know what happened.
So I don't really want you to comment on her case because again, we don't have it's not cut and dry, but it's a question that I do want to ask you. But let me get to this first.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. So the mayor, he posted this on X. He says scammers are stealing homes from New Yorkers and black and brown homeowners are being targeted the most. We're launching the mayor's office of deed theft prevention led by Director Peter White to defend vulnerable homeowners. And we are pushing the tax lien cell for the next 6 months as we review and fix a broken system.
Are they saying pausing?
Yeah, we are pausing the
How
tax.
the hell are they going to do that? That's up to the New York courts, not him. See, these people get to get these offices and they don't even know what their authority is, and they get to talking about what they're going to do and not do. And it may be way out of their reach one way or the other. So, yeah.
He said, we are using every tool at our disposal to help the New Yorkers stay in their homes in the city we love.
But they're trying to throw the rich folk out. Okay, that's nice.
It
Now, what about Illian Omar types who are now worth how many $1 million? And AOC, isn't she from that kind of that neck of the woods? Does she count as one of those folk that live there part time because they're up in DC? Well, they're down in DC a lot.
It is felt in restaurants.
Let me play this clip here of the mayor.
And Mayor Mamdani is launching a new office today of deed theft prevention in the wake of council member Chi Ose's arrest at an anti-eviction protest.
That is why today I am proud to announce City Hall will lead that work through the creation of New York City's first ever Office of Deed Theft Prevention. This work, frankly, is long overdue.
Stop. I know a lot more about law than this clown. I've never heard the term deed theft before. That is a new coin term. And what it brings to mind is somebody stole a physical deed. This sounds like one of those 1930 black and white movies where Legree, the villain, is tying the young woman to the railroad track or whatever he's going to do, and the train's coming along, and he wants the deed to the property so he can put cows on it or something like that. That's what this sounds like to me. If you deed theft, that means you stole it. So you mean somebody physically took this deed and ran off with it? Or are they talking about there was fraud in the conveyance? Doesn't New York have a statute of frauds that they could bring into play on this? And what is all this new stupid language out there? Deed theft. It's crazy.
Over the past 2 decades, more than 200,000 black New Yorkers have left New York City. That is a very real, very tangible exodus. Here in Bed-Stuy, it carries a particular pain. It is felt in storefronts shuttered. It is felt in restaurants that once bustled but now sit closed. It is felt in schools with fewer students. It is felt in churches with pews that are empty of its parishioners. City Hall will use the full extent of our power to protect those who have been left to struggle alone for so long.
The Brooklyn council member said at the time he was trying to protect a constituent who was fighting deed theft. He joined the mayor for today's announcement.
Today, the city of New York is taking the necessary close look at deed theft that we need because the decades-long status quo is unacceptable.
Mamdani appointed veteran homeowner attorney Peter White to head that new office.
Okay, in other words, what's happening is the Democratic Party's social policies and lack of attention to astute economics has made everything so damn expensive that nobody can afford to live there now. So the place is sort of self-gentrifying because, let's see, enterprising investors are saying this is still prime real estate, and all of the color are too damn broke to live in there anymore. So let's scoop up this property, redevelop it, gentrify it, and make some money off of it. And meanwhile, Zohan, the mayor up here, is trying to run the folk who can afford it out and tax them so they want to sell it, which will probably drive the property values down a little bit more, which is not good for the tax structure of the city. So it's going to be a fascinating little exposition of how socialism doesn't really work, never has worked anywhere.
So here's the question I want to ask you, because with all this that's going on, it seemed like lack of proper paperwork preparation. So first of all, why do you have 12 heirs on a house, right? That's
I've seen it. One case I had there were 37.
On one, was it a mansion or a regular
No,
home?
one regular home. It was some farmland stuff. Turned out to have a lot of overgrown wooded areas on the acreage. And when the people who were trying to get it got it assessed, there were $3.5 million worth of timber on the place that nobody paid any attention to. And when they put the estate tax out there, what wound up happening is they wound up selling it on an estate tax sale and auction, and
Okay, so
5 or 6 of the 37 heirs had sold. Several of them were in Detroit, one of them was in Chicago, and they'd sold their interest for a considerable amount of change to some developers. So everybody else got thrown out. They got some money and nobody else got anything.
and that's the problem with having multiple people on like one piece of property. But also, a lot of times people don't have a will. They don't, they don't have the trust or nothing set up for when, you pass away, that your house is protected. Because if you don't have a will, a lot of times an LLC or corporation can come in and buy the deed, or buy buy the home, or take the home if you don't have the proper paperwork to.
Well, it's called statute of frauds. If it's a lot of states, if it's over $1,000, it's $500,
Oh,
$1,750,
I'm saying,
whatever it may be. It has to be in writing.
right.
So,
Something has to be, because okay, so this house where, so this is the question I want to ask you flat out, as a legal expert. Um, if you are a homeowner and you have children, what type of paperwork should be in place just in case you die?
well, it depends on what your relationship is with your children. If it's a decent one, if you die intestate without a will, each child gets an equal share along with the wife. Uh, that would be mama in a lot of old time families. But if she's dead, each child gets an equal share. Now, the problem comes in is when each child happens to be 37 years old, 51 years old, and they've got children, so they're grandchildren, and the one that's 62 years old died, so there are 5 grandchildren that have that 61-year-old share. So now they all have that divided up. And even though it was satisfactory at one point, 25, 30 years later, somebody's living in New York, somebody is in Philly, somebody's in Chicago, somebody's in Gary, Indiana, see, and they haven't been
Living
back to the
trust.
family property for years. And somebody says, we're going to put a new strip mall in there and we're going to develop this to a little gated community on a golf course. So we want that property. So they're scheming away, and other folk are about their business 2,000 miles away and they aren't paying the least attention. So they
Well,
get caught in this, and one somebody that is upset about it.
so should should the homeowner have some type of living trust?
It might be, depends on the value of the property. But as I said,
But everyone should have some type of will, something in
yeah,
writing.
but what I'm saying
Everyone
is
should have.
even sometimes the will does nothing, because what happens is, okay, let's say you have 5 children, all right? And you have a will, and you leave each of your 5 children 1/5 share, equal share in all of the in your estate, which includes properties like a house or a farm or something like that, or 2 or 3 apartment buildings, right?
Mhm.
Well, okay, you got 5 children. Now, the 5 children are no longer 8, 9, 10, 15 years old. One of them is in 63 years old, one of them is 57, and another one is 49, and 2 of them are in their mid 40s. All right. They have children. So let's say the 63-year-old, who is the oldest child, has died of a heart attack and he's got 5 kids. So what happens right there is there was a will from the person who is the original grantor. His 5 children get 1/5 share of what his estate is about. But one of the people dies, so his 1/5 share goes to his 4, 5, or 6 children. Since he's in his 60s when he dies, one of those children doesn't own the whole of the granddad's property. What winds up happening is they own 1/5 share of 1/5, but they can sell that share. There's no way anybody can stop them. So they sell that share for some cash in hand. They may be junkies, they may have a cocaine habit, or they may be trying to buy something, get a new car, pay off a girlfriend, child support, whatever it may be. So whomever they sell that share to now is not in a position of having to need a will, because what happened is the will wouldn't have had anything to do with what happened to the property. It depends on the circumstances. And by the way, that was an actual case I'm
So,
talking about.
well, here's the thing. Well, first of all, this case with Carmela Charrington, her the other heirs, the other 12 heirs, and the wife that agreed to sell that brownstone, they only sold it for 1.4 million. And I'm sorry, brownstones, even in Bed-Stuy in 2026, is worth more than
Well, it
1.4.
may be, but they chose to do it.
It's
Remember?
and here's the thing. So out of the 12, it could have been 3 of them that chose to do it and split the 1.4
Yeah.
million dollars amongst the 3. So again, so let me just say this last part in conclusion with this topic. I would never have a whole bunch of people on one piece of property. And even if
What can
you
you do about it? You're dead.
No. I'm saying before I die.
Well, in other words, this case, actual case I'm talking about, there were just 5 heirs.
But
1,
the
2,
father
3,
is
4,
still
5
alive,
children.
and that's the thing, the father is still alive in this particular
Well,
case.
he's in non-compos mentis,
Right.
apparently.
So if she is a conservator, this is the thing. I need some type of paperwork to say this is the sole person that makes all the decisions. You can't
Well,
sell, you can't do anything without this person approval.
well, yeah, but that people don't think things through that far because they don't have that much money and they aren't thinking about it in the terms you're talking about.
But they
But
should,
here,
right?
but I don't even know if her father actually is the one that had the property to begin with. Because if it's her father, likely is not, he's a contemporary of mine. So if they say they had the property for 60 years, that would have put him back. Let's say he's 80.
Well,
That
maybe
that would have made him
it
20
was in the
years
family.
old when
No,
he
no, no.
acquired the
Yeah,
property.
it was in the family for 60 years, and
Yeah.
he was the last controller of it. So let's
Yeah,
put it out.
well, I can see that, but
Yeah.
what winds up happening is what probably happened was it was his father or uncle that had the property, or aunt or mother that had it. So what happened is each of the children got a share. But what has happened
It's the
is in the
welfare.
intervening 60 years, what's happened is they've had children who've had children. So each of those children, if say that particular person who got it left to them as part of a will died, now have a part of that share. So it quickly balloons, and you may be irresponsible. You may be very responsible and leave a will. But when you die, you know you have 5 kids and maybe 4 grandkids, right? But you don't know what's going to happen after you're gone. So 60 years.
Yeah, I know. I get it. It can be confusing if don't know, if you don't know, if you don't have a good lawyer or do your research. But I totally get it. I get it. I the way you to explain, because it's 60 years in the family. Because I'm like, who puts 12 people? He probably didn't put 12 people on there. They were probably, you talk about the aunts and their kids or the uncles and their kids, even though the father was probably the main person, but it was passed down from him to him. Yeah, the details is in the paperwork. This sounds like a mess. And honestly, maybe Mendandi is right to have a deed theft office to get
Yeah,
all
but
the
what
shit
can they do
out.
about it? See, the problem is he's municipal. what you're talking about is state action from the state of New York, not the city of New York. So the fact that he's got a city office, it says the city office is going to do what? Intervene in somebody's private affairs with a matter that deals with all title comes from the state, not the city. You see, so what are you doing? This is another bureaucratic thing where more money is going to get spent, and the question beggars itself, what for?
Well, thank you, Alonzo. And thank you, Sarah, for the super chat. He says, "Hey, Dana and Judge, fraudulently transfer ownership of property easily done with a quit
Quit
claim."
claim name. In other words, what the quit claim deed scam is you don't have a very valid claim to the property, but you execute a quit claim deed for somebody else saying, I quit my claim to any interest I may have had in the property for so much money that you have given me. So here you have it. Now, that person has an interesting comeback. There is a concept in American common law. It's called innocent purchaser for value. In other words, if somebody's going to sell you a 2025 Chevrolet Camaro, right? And they're going to sell it to you for $4,000. That's way under market value. You ought to be looking to see if it's stolen property so you don't get busted for receiving and concealing stolen property. But if, let's say, you buy this 2024 25 Camaro from somebody for, say, $25,000, that is probably close to market value, at least in a crunch, right? So if somebody says, wait a minute, somebody defrauded me of that car, they didn't have the right to sell it. Well, this guy that bought it, if he says, I'm innocent, I didn't know there was anything wrong, and the money I paid wasn't the best price, but it was within market value, I'm an innocent purchaser for value, so my claim is good.
Right. Thank you,
That's
Eric.
what they do with these quit claim deeds
Oh,
sometimes.
thank you, Eric Jordan, for the super chat. Deed theft is crazy. That's robbery. And you know what? Everybody's situation is different.
And that's
So
not really what we'd call theft of a deed. That's what you call fraud.
with the woman, what we were just
Yeah,
talking
that's just
about,
fraud, plain flat out fraud.
fraud.
This is somebody trying to come up with a snazzy title for something.
Yeah, and you know what? And it's unfortunate that she's going through this, but yeah,
I mean, that New York has its laws, so
I mean, every state has their laws. I know New Jersey, they side heavily with landlords over tenants. So there are a lot of slum lords in New Jersey that get away with a lot, and the legal system allows it. So even if you take them to court, for some reason, the state of New Jersey, they always side with these slum lords. So, and that's just one example. And I
well, yeah, we got a thing they call a mafia here. It's not the real one, but it's got to do with the real estate acquisition and management. And one of the biggest entities in there 50 years ago had more pending cases against him than any other landlord in the United States for inappropriate landlord tenant practices. But they control a lot of Memphis area politics now, and we've got rhino Republicans that bought into the whole thing because there's a lot of money under the table. So you can't tell what's going on. Most of the judges are straight up, but there's some crooked ones too. So
Well,
I
her
don't
case,
know, you
her
know.
Carmela Carrington case is more so fraud, and I think that's a case of a lot of people. So I have one more thing I wanted to talk about.
It's tragic, but I don't know what the detail is on that. It's just a mess.
Yeah, I mean, but from what we gather from the reportings, it's a mess, but it
Pay
does.
more attention to your affairs rather than whether you're going to get in or out of heaven or hell. And letting you preach a pimp. You go take that money and put it on a retainer so you have a family attorney.
Yeah, and then
Pick a good one, not necessarily one that's got the slick ads.
and a lot of, and be careful, family members, because they're the first ones, the main ones that will bite you like a snake. So, all right, this is one last thing because I don't want to hold it to Thursday because I already have a lot of ideas for when we record on Thursday. And guys, if you have a question or a comment, please send it via super chat and like and share this video. So, oh wait, let me bring
I
this up
need to
first.
hurry up. I'm about out of battery.
Well, should we end it here then?
Well, I've got 5-6% battery, so
But then maybe.
let's hurry it up. Go ahead.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
be brief.
Okay. Well, this is a 5-minute clip that I wanted to play. So should I hold it for Thursday?
Why don't you just put that in when you edit it?
But you need to listen to it.
Well,
That's
just
what-
let me hear the first part of it. I can usually tell what's going to go on from the first part.
well, we may have to redo this because I need your
Okay,
full.
let's play it before we run out. It just dropped down
You
another
want to just
percentage
wait for
point.
Thursday.
Let's just hear it so I can get it together for Thursday. What is this?
Okay. This is reparations. So hold on. So this is Dr. Darity, and in Chicago they held a reparations open forum because they have a reparation task force, and this is what he had to say about reparations.
One of the things that we're going to say that I think is really provocative in this context is that a true reparations project necessarily must require federal action. And so we make the point here that reparations are not a matter of personal or individual institutional guilt. Black reparations are a matter of national responsibility. The federal government is simultaneously what we refer to as the culpable party, given the origins of the racial wealth gap, but it is also the capable party. It is the only party at this level of government that has the capacity to meet the full bill. So what do we view as the limitations of individual, organizational, state, and local reparations initiatives, what we refer to as piecemeal initiatives? So first of all, they will not satisfactorily provide restitution. Most efforts frequently involve acknowledgement. In some cases, like Evanston, Illinois, there actually has been some form of compensation. But the difficulty is that these forms of compensation are solely inadequate. And in fact, in the Evanston case, the focus on housing is problematic because although home equity is the primary source of wealth for people in the middle of the wealth distribution, we have to recognize that 97% of the wealth in the United States is held by households above the middle, above the median. And so if we focus exclusively on the characteristics of households at the middle, we're going to be excluding a vast amount of wealth that is relevant to the United States experience.
So basically, he is discussing how, reparations is not going to look like a check for everyone. That's not going to happen. And it's so vast and so much that it's going to have to be somewhat on a federal level, but then also on a state level, which it will look different from a federal level. And if it is on a federal level, that doesn't mean everybody will be handed reparations. So this is why I'm just going to push this to Thursday because
Okay, we can push it to Thursday. I'll just push some of the issues. Who is entitled to the benefits? That's the big issue. Are you talking about slavery, or are you talking about slavery plus what happened afterwards? If you talk about what happened afterwards, then the class gets more inclusive. You're talking about action to be taken. If you're talking about on the state, are you talking about the people who just live in the state then? Or are you talking about people who got impacted by the state previous to the situation? Like if California comes up with reparations on the state level, am I entitled to it because I was there from kindergarten through law school and then back for another 15 years in adulthood? Do I get a piece of that action? Who qualifies for the situation? What percentage of black do you have to have in you before you get entitled? You have a family, like I'm aware of somebody, she's a comedian, she's got 14 siblings. They go from very, very dark, just got off the boat, to blonde haired, blue eyed, looking white. And they all have the same mom and dad, assuming they have been true to each other. So which one of them gets it? Because they come from the family. What if one of them was adopted and not blood kin to the whole situation? So what do? If you become part of the family that's acknowledged as white, black? What if you're Asian or white and you got adopted? There are a whole lot of black folk in California and other places that adopted Asian children after World War II and after Korea. So do those adopted children who may be 70 years old now, 75 years old, and grew up in a black neighborhood, did they get reparations? And how do you determine what they are? Do you take a DNA
All right,
test?
all right.
Who
So
administered it? So all of these things.
it is lineage, number one, and the main. It's not
How
about
do you
race, it's
determine it?
lineage. Well, you have to do the research of, can you trace your lineage back to enslavement, and also past post enslavement? Can you trace your lineage that was affected by Jim Crow?
Well,
So
you have to have a DNA test, and all the black folk are conspiratorial masters, and they think conspiracy theorists, and they think it's a conspiracy,
I
so
think people
somebody can find some genetic
I
thing
think
to
I
attack
think
them.
I think people would change their mind if they think they're gonna get some type of tangible, but either
Yeah,
way,
I
I
know, but
think
I'm just saying you have to
this
see
is why I'm
first off
saying, but no, no,
who
no,
gets it.
right, but this is why I'm saying we will leave it for Thursday, because we have more time to
Yeah, well, we can't discuss it now. I'm down to 3%.
yeah.
So
So see you next
I'm just saying these things should be brought up and dealt with. But you see, it's a complex question, and there are no easy answers to the whole thing. And just about every solution to the question, if you investigate it, brings up some problems and some opposition.
say goodnight. Because I think your bars just went down to 2 or 1. All right, everybody,
Good
listen.
night, everyone. Have a great time this week. See you later.
Good show. Thank you, Judge. Thank you, everybody that sent in donations. Appreciate you. And thank you to Rosemary. Guys, go to her website, www.rosemary.com, for Ohio District 1. And if you don't live in the district, donate, donate, donate. We need more people like her in office. So thank you for coming through. And thank you, Judge, again. And we will see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.
I'm going to plug in here.
Let's see. Where is the outro? Outro. Good night. Bye.
Yep.